A Dog's Purpose 2017. The movie starts with a voice asking what the meaning of life is. We see a newborn puppy with his siblings and mother. They were strays that did nothing but play and have fun every day. They were caught by animal control, and that was it for him, ending in a short life. He is back as a puppy again and is trying hard to sneak in and get milk. He is now a red retriever who luckily escapes from a puppy mill. He is later discovered by a couple of men who take him away to try and sell him. They leave the puppy in the truck while the two have a drink and lunch together. This is when a young mom and her son see him dehydrated and suffering from the heat. In a state of panic, they break the window and rescue him and take him to their home. The puppy is excited to see a boy named Ethan and wants to keep him as his owner. Inside the home, his father is reluctant because Ethan is still young, and a puppy is a big responsibility for him. The boy and puppy patiently wait outside as his parents are discussing it, and to his surprise, his dad allows him to keep it. His new name is Bailey, and all the family members like him except for the cat, who is jealous of him for being a dog. Bailey was happy that Ethan always played with him and that he wasn't a cat. They take a family trip to his grandparents' farmhouse in the country, and after having lunch, the two go out and play with an old football Bailey had found in the barn. They spend the entire afternoon playing, and he even learns a new trick where he jumps on his back and catches the ball. Ethan shows his dad the trick, and he is very proud and impressed with his son. Ethan starts school, and a big yellow box takes him away every morning. Sometimes Mom leaves the house, and this is when Bailey is hungry and bored. Ethan comes home to find the mess he made and tries to quickly clean it up, but his father suddenly comes back after work and is upset to see the mess. He scolds his son to clean it up and teach the dog who is boss. His employer is coming over for dinner, so he brings out his rare coin collection to show off later. Ethan plays with the most expensive coin, which is the St. Gaudens 1907 Golden Eagle, which spins off the table, and Bailey swallows it up quickly, thinking it was a treat. The guests arrive, and Ethan's father asks for an office position, but his boss refuses because he is their best traveling salesman, and it would be unwise to remove him. This apparently upsets his father, who is stuck as a salesman and will never be able to move up his position. The boss diverts the topic and asks about his coin collection, which he will show him after dinner. This makes Ethan nervous, so he takes Bailey out to do his business. Ethan gets the coin back and heads back into the house, but Bailey causes trouble, so his father takes him outside. However, he sneaks out at night and goes back into Ethan's room to sleep on his bed. Ethan is now a college football player, and Bailey, along with his mom, are in the stands watching the game. We can see that another player is jealous and teases him for always having his dog around. Bailey senses what is going on and trips him to everyone's amusement. They get home to see his dad depressed as he drinks beer while watching TV, as Ethan sits down and tells him he was promoted to starting quarterback and that he should come to watch one of his games. The two are at a county fair, and Ethan watches a young woman hitting every target with a toy gun. Bailey can sense Ethan is getting sweaty, which might be because of the girl, so he goes up to her, which makes Ethan apologize for his dog's behavior. She tells him to teach his dog some manners, and they laugh it off. He asks her to have a hot dog, and now Bailey can sense her getting sweaty as well. They go on rides and have fun, but he gets dizzy afterwards and ends up paying for 28 hot dogs. He drives her home and tells him she had a great time, but leaves right away after Bailey farts in the car. Ever since that day, she has become part of the pack, and they spend every day together. Bailey describes how they did all kinds of things together, but he mostly just sat in the car and did nothing while the two wrestled and licked each other. The two talks about their future as they intend to attend the same university when Ethan gets his football scholarship. When Ethan gets home, his father is very drunk and he picks a fight with him. His mother gets in the way, which makes him throw her down. This infuriates Ethan, who tells him he must leave and never come back, making him the new pack leader. After a game, he shows off his college scholarship and they all go get some food, but his dad shows up drunk, which causes a scene in front of his teammates. The jealous teammate witnesses this and mocks Ethan, who knocks him down to the floor. At night, he comes to the house for revenge and lights a firecracker, which causes the entire house to burn. Bailey wakes up Ethan and his mother, who are unaware of the fire in which she makes her escape through the window, as Bailey follows right after. The rope they made from blankets slips and Ethan must jump, which ends up breaking his leg. Bailey is told to stay behind, but he chases the ambulance and ends up catching the arson who was hiding nearby. They are back at their grandparents' farm, and Ethan is now on crutches after breaking his leg, which ended his career. He never wanted to play anymore, but looked sad all the time and only wanted to sleep all day. He had a lot of time now, so he made a new friend, which looked like a small horse or a huge dog. Hannah came over when Ethan broke off the relationship with her because she was leaving for college, and he was a mess. She says her final goodbyes to Ethan and Bailey and storms off to her car in tears. It is now time for him to go to an agricultural college to take over the farm later. Ethan leaves, but Bailey thinks they are playing a different kind of catch, so he chases him through the fields. They say their final goodbyes, which Bailey does not seem to understand. Now that Ethan was gone, what was the point of him being here? Maybe the point was not to look for a point. Things moved at a slow pace now, but it was okay because he didn't feel like playing anymore, not even with Horse Dog. He felt tired all the time and lost his appetite. Bailey's time had come, and Ethan looked very sad and was there to say goodbye. Then it happened again. The milk, the mother, the warmth. He was back, but why? Ethan was missing, and so were some other things. He was now she and working as a police dog. Her name is now Ellie, and the new owner was always stern and serious, and even playing seemed like work. The owner was sad and lonely, and Ellie sensed someone used to live there. She tried to sleep on the bed every night but was not allowed to. Carlos seemed to have lost someone important and did not want to be attached again, but gives in eventually. Later, a girl is kidnapped, and Ellie helps find her and later rescues her from drowning when she falls into the water. Carlos is about to be shot, but she jumps in front of the bullet and gets hit instead. This was not a very fun life, but it was a good life. She is now a he again and is tiny and all ears. His new owner is nice and always seemed sad or lonely, so he wanted to cheer her up. He was taken everywhere with her and fed all the time, and even forgot what it felt like to be hungry. Well, almost. She loves eating chips, pizza, and ice cream and loves sharing with him, but is sad that she is always alone and only has him. At the dog park, Tino meets Roxy and falls in love instantly, which happens to be the dog of Maya's classmate, Al. After that meeting, the four of them became close and started living together, and after some time, Al proposed, and they got married. Later, they had their first child, and he couldn't understand why they had to have a baby because it took the attention away from him. Eventually, they had more and more children, and life had become a lot more chaotic. He now had too much attention, which he did enjoy. He was glad he had Roxy, but one day they took him to the vet, but she never came back, making him very sad. A few years later, Tino was now older and very tired all the time. Maya senses that Tino was ready as she becomes very sad and starts to cry as he describes this life as one of his bests. He was back again, and this time picked up by a young woman who was very excited and took him to her home. However, after a while, things were bad for him because he never played or was given attention, but instead always tied to a tree. The couple always fought and was often in trouble with the law. A few months later, the man drives him to a remote area and leaves him there confused and lonely. He thought about walking back home, but honestly did not want to go back there. At a dog park, he smells something familiar he had known from a long time ago. While wandering around, he ends up at a familiar place with familiar smells. It was Horse Dog, and he was so excited to see him. As he looked around more, he smelled someone very familiar and was positive it was Ethan, just that he had gotten much older. He jumps on top of him in pure joy, which catches Ethan off guard, surprising him. He feeds the dog but tells him he can't stay and that he must go home, but he was home with Ethan. The next day he has no choice but to take him to the animal shelter, leaving him behind. At home, Ethan has dinner alone and washes the dishes afterwards, and can't help but feel lonely, and the home feels especially empty. In the morning, he decides not to leave the dog alone at the shelter and drives there to pick him up. He names him Buddy and takes him to get his new collar and then gives him a nice bath at home right after. At night, Buddy notices that he is sad and alone, but he doesn't know how to help him. But wait. Yes, he does. He sneaks out in the morning to the same dog park in search of the woman with the familiar scent. He finds her and secretly follows her to see Hannah, who looks much different from before but still smells like biscuits, which was the familiar scent. Hannah looks at the collar to take Buddy home and is surprised to see the name and address of Ethan on it. She takes him home and Ethan opens the door after hesitating out of nervousness. Hannah had just lost her husband and moved back here about a month ago. Ethan was never married and confessed that he never stopped loving her, then mustered up the courage to ask her out while Buddy waits for them to start licking their faces. The two get married, and they are having dinner with Hannah's very large family. He wanted one last thing, though, which was for Ethan to know that he was Bailey. He finds the old football in the barn, and they do their old trick together, making Ethan realize this as he starts to tear up as they hugged and embraced each other. So, what he learned in all his lives as a dog is that it's all about having fun and to be in the now. That's a dog's purpose.